It's showtime.
What's up, good people? And welcome to an abridged version of the Frank Harris Show. Baby, we in the building today. Sometimes hot takes, stuff hot off the press happens that we have to address and talk about. Um, One, Calipari leaving Kentucky, big deal to go to Arkansas. Let's talk about all of it. Okay. How did we get here? Calipari, Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame career thus far. He's probably had as much success as you can possibly imagine as it relates to sending players to the NBA, which I think is a bit overrated, and I'll tell you why later. Okay. Parted ways with Kentucky and took the job at the University of Arkansas. A big money job, right? Arkansas is a place, well, not a big money job, but a place with big money boosters, deep pockets, all right? The University of Arkansas is not Big Blue Nation. Let's start there. Kentucky is the bluest of blue bloods. Let's start there. But Arkansas has money, or how about I say it this way? Arkansas got money. They got money, okay? Think about it. The Tyson chicken family, big boosters. They send all their family members to the University of Arkansas, and one of the family members is very close to Calipari, and he's the person who I think initiated getting him to interview and kind of putting the deal together with Arkansas. Okay, so you got the Tyson chicken family. Okay, you got the Walton family that owns Walmart. Right, they're also in Arkansas. And actually, the arena is called the Bud Walton Arena. All right, so you got Walmart money, which is big money. So you got Tyson Food, Tyson Chickens, Tyson Food money. You got Walmart money, and then you got good old boy Jerry Jones. Good old Jerry Jones, right? I have my feelings about him. I'm a Cowboy fan. Not saying that I'm a Jerry Jones fan, but he has deep pockets, and he played football at Arkansas, and he's a known big Arkansas booster. So there's big money, all right, in the coffers over at Arkansas. Now, let's talk about Calipari, okay? So Calipari, great coach for parents and recruits. Great record of getting players to the NBA, one and done players. A lot of players having success in the NBA. Anthony Davis, Devin Booker, Tyrese Maxey, Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, John Wall was a guy that had some success. A lot of great players. A lot of great players that went to Kentucky and had great success in the NBA. A lot of them. Okay. Now, that's great for the kids and the families, but not great for the university. At the end of the day, all right, the university feels good about having all these pros, but the university's first commitment is to big blue nation, the boosters, etc. All right, and kids going to the NBA is not what it's about for those guys. It's about wins. It's about SEC championships. It's about #1 rankings, and it's about ultimately national championships. That's what you have to do to win at the bluest of blue bloods, Kentucky. You gotta win championships, and Calipari didn't do it enough. He got to 4 Final Fours, and he won 1 championship with all of that elite talent. All right, elite talent. 1 championship, 4 Final Fours in 15 years. Not enough. Not enough for Big Blue Nation and the alumni who want to, and the boosters who want to see wins and championships, not Anthony Davis making $500 million playing basketball. Again, that's a good byproduct, but it can't be the primary reason, all right, that a coach stays at a school, all right? And by the way, I think that's a bit of an overrated stat for Calipari, and let me tell you why, okay? When you recruit the best players in the nation consistently, of course you're going to have guys that are going to be having success in the pros. It's a reason why this kid is ranked #1 in high school, all right? Because he's a great high school player, but when they rank these players, they also rank them based upon their pro potential. So unequivocally, of course, he's going to have more guys. If you look at, Kentucky and Duke, every year they're like 1 and 2 in the recruiting race, and they have the most successful guys in the NBA over the last, decade plus, last 10, 15, 20 years. So, there's a correlation. You don't look at a school like the University of Houston or a school like Marquette, and you say, oh, well, they putting all these players in the pros. No disrespect to those schools, right? I don't mean, I'm just naming just two schools that are not getting the #1 recruiting classes every year. And by the way, Marquette has put some players in the NBA, Dwayne Wade, Jimmy Butler, Jay Crowder. So they have put some players in the NBA. But the point I'm trying to make is the fact that Calipari is putting so many guys into the NBA, it's kind of a bit of an overrated situation because he's getting the best players to start with. Okay. So I'm glad he's doing a good job with that and the guys love him and that's cool. Okay. But a bit overrated from that perspective. The guy can recruit but can't coach. I wouldn't say can't coach. He's an overrated coach. Okay. Look at it historically. Went to UMass, got Marcus Camby, who was the second best player in the country behind Tim Duncan. Very, very high level player in college. They got to the Final Four, they lost. Okay. Then he went to Memphis. Again, got the best high level recruits, Derrick Rose, #1 player in the country, got there at Memphis, had DeJuan Wagner Jr. No, DeJuan Wagner, not Jr. He has Jr. now in Kentucky, but he had DeJuan Wagner, the dad, who was a great, great high school player out of New Jersey. Phenomenal high school player, #1 player in the country, player of the year, had him at Memphis. Didn't win with him in 1 year, but, one and done, but kept recruiting, got Derrick Rose, got to the national championship, and lost to Bill Self in Kansas. All right. So he lost in another national championship. Okay. Then he got to Kentucky. All right. Recruited great players. And he only won 1 championship in 15 years with the best players in the country. Okay. So overrated coach, great for recruits. But I will say this. If he has the level of success at Arkansas that he had at Kentucky, oh man, they'll build monuments for him. Different expectation. I'm sure Arkansas wants to win. Okay. But if he wins at the clip at Arkansas like he did at Kentucky, they'll love him for it. All right. So less of an expectation. He's taking a bit less money, $1.5 million less, which he can make it up in incentives. Okay. But it was time for a fresh start. Kentucky needed a new voice. They needed a new leader for Big Blue Nation. Calipari wasn't winning enough. The boosters were not happy. And Calipari felt that he was underappreciated. Okay. Now, look, I knew something was amiss when the season ended. Okay. The AD for Kentucky was giving press conferences about Calipari staying. When your AD after the season is giving press conferences about you staying, you know what that means? That means you're playing for your job. You're on the proverbial hot seat, okay? And I'm not sure Calipari deserved that, okay? But he was coaching for his job. Soon as the AD comes out, the AD at 90% of schools is not coming out after the year talking about the coaches staying. That's not what they do. You just continue on. The coach is under contract and the guy's coming back. So you knew something was amiss. Calipari felt underappreciated. He felt like he did so much for the university. He felt like he shouldn't deserve it. So he moved on. Fair enough. Great for him. Okay. He has the job that he wants. You know what I mean? He's at Arkansas. He's happy. Great for Kentucky. They can now go reset the program, start with somebody new, start fresh. And so win-win for both if Kentucky can get the right candidate, which I'll talk about in a second. But another thing I want to talk about, I want to dispel this rumor about Calipari, okay, not recruiting players in the transfer portal and how he has to completely change his model of recruiting and how he builds his program. That's a trash argument, and it's just not true, okay? Now, could he better use the transfer portal? I'm not sure I would disagree with that concept, but let's just look at it historically, okay? If you look at their teams over the last few years, they've had many transfer portal players, okay? Oscar Tshiebwe, who was a national player of the year at Kentucky. I repeat, Oscar Tshiebwe was a national player of the year at Kentucky. He was a transfer. He was a transfer from West Virginia. Came to Kentucky, national player of the year. They got him a big NIL deal. He came back to Kentucky for another year. So he had the national player of the year who was a transfer portal guy, right? He was a transfer, okay? Obi Toppin's brother, Jacob Toppin, transfer, okay? The best player on the team right now, Antonio Reeves. He's the best player on the team right now. Maybe not the best pro prospect, but the best college player on the team at Kentucky right now. He's a transfer. Southern Illinois. I'm pretty sure that's where he transferred from. He's a transfer. Kellen Grady, best player at Davidson a few years back, okay? He was a transfer. He transferred into Kentucky. Trey Mitchell, a guy on the current roster, starter level player on the current roster. He was a transfer. So let's stop this false narrative that Calipari was not utilizing the transfer portal and all he was doing was recruiting five-star players. He was recruiting five-star players, and he was also recruiting and getting players out of the transfer portal as well. He did both. Now, if you want to argue that he should have done it more, then okay, you can argue that. But let's stop the narrative that he's not doing it at all, because that's not true. Okay? And, you know, now we get to Kentucky. Now, the Kentucky part of the argument is interesting because they need to get the right fit. They need to have the right hire. They need to get the right guy, okay? So I posted about this on my Instagram, The Real Frank Harris on Instagram, and I said I thought that there were a few candidates, but my guy was Scott Drew. I felt like Scott Drew at Baylor was the guy. That was my number one guy they should have gotten. And I get it. They have to reach out to Danny Hurley. Danny Hurley right now is the hot guy, you know, pause, the hot name, right? Let me say it that way. The hot name in college basketball. He's building a nice situation there, 2 national championships. The guy is incredibly successful. He's doing a great job. You have to put the feeler out, okay? Because Big Blue Nation is still Kentucky. It's still the biggest and the best job. You got to do it. I get it, okay? Why are we talking about Billy Donovan? Billy Donovan, what are we talking about with Billy Donovan? Billy Donovan, great college player at Providence, led Providence to a Final Four. Rick Pitino was coaching, played in the NBA for a few years, okay? Then he became a coach. Was an assistant at Kentucky, I believe, for 3 years with Pitino. So it was an assistant at Kentucky. I get it. Then he coached at Florida, won 2 national championships on the Al Horford, Joakim Noah teams, great college teams. And then he's been in the NBA now for how many years? He's been with OKC for years. Now he's with the Chicago Bulls, okay? Why are you talking about bringing this guy back? I don't understand it. The guy is done. New NIL deal, new college landscape, transfer portal, recruiting. Why would Billy Donovan want to do that? Come back to college, number one. And number two, why would you want to bring a guy that doesn't have the experience and understanding the new college basketball landscape at such a crucial moment for Kentucky basketball? I understand it's a big name guy that's in the NBA, but that wouldn't even be remotely close to a good hire. Okay. Then you got a guy like Jay Wright, who was a wild card guy that everybody was talking about. But Jay Wright is, you know, he's on TV right now. He's a commentator on TV, and he's not very good at it, obviously. Well, to me, at least, I'm saying obviously, but he's not very good at it. But he's comfortable. Great coach at Villanova. Slick dude, sharp. Oh, man, has all the attributes to be a great coach. Maybe too city slick for Kentucky, in my opinion. But the guy had great success at Villanova. 2 national championships, right, during his Jalen Brunson era. But he had a great program that he built at Villanova. So he's a great college coach, but he's a wild card guy that's sitting on the sidelines. Everybody's talking about this Nate Oates guy. I don't get Nate Oates, right? Maybe the best coach in Alabama basketball history, but Alabama's never won a national championship in basketball. Wim Sanderson may have something to say about that. He was a great Alabama basketball head coach, but Nate Oates is very good at Alabama, okay? But I don't understand why he's like the hot candidate for every job. Why? Right? He built an Alabama program relatively okay. He got to the Final Four this year, but he's won nothing yet, okay? Scott Drew. Baylor took Baylor to the national championship. Baylor, not a big basketball program at all. Not a whole bunch of money in the program. Recruited at a high level, beat out the blue bloods, a lot of them over and over again for recruits, high-level recruiter. It has the demeanor, the swag and the confidence to have a big job like Kentucky, but the down-to-earthness and the Southern sensibility that I think would fit well at Kentucky. So Kentucky, you better go get Scott Drew. I said it to you when the job first opened up and Calipari was leaving a few days ago. I'll say it emphatically again. And I get you got to put your feelers out everywhere, but Scott Drew is the guy. So if Kentucky gets Scott Drew, Calipari's at Arkansas, I think it's a win-win for everybody involved. And it was definitely time for Calipari to move on. Now, time for us to move on and change topics. Let's go right into the NBA playoffs, okay? We are on the eve of the NBA playoffs. It's close, right? This is the last week of the regular season. Everybody's jockeying for slots, for seedings, for positions. Look, there's a lot of stuff going behind the scenes that the average layperson does not know and fan doesn't know. Okay, I'll give an example. The Los Angeles Lakers or anybody in the West, no one wants to play the Denver Nuggets in the first round. Okay, so right now you look at the top of the Western Conference. You got Denver, OKC, and you got Minnesota. Okay, right now it looks like it's going to be between Denver and Minnesota, but OKC has an outside chance to get the first seed. Okay, the Lakers, none of the teams that are really good like the Warriors or the Lakers, those teams would happily, okay, accept a first round matchup with OKC and Minnesota over Denver. Nobody wants to play Denver in the first round. Nobody wants to do that. Okay. So if you're the Lakers, right, you're watching Denver very closely. You're watching that top of the conference race. Okay. So if Denver gets the first seed, if you're the Lakers, you don't want the 8th seed. You want the 7th seed because then you'll play the 2 seed. 2 plays 7, 1 plays 8. Okay. So you see LeBron James sitting out one game for illness. You see AD got allegedly scratched in the eye, and so he's sitting out a game. You see players are resting, some players are playing, and you know what it's all about? Seeding, okay? Because you look at the top of the conference again, and if you're the Lakers, okay, you feel like in the first round you could kill OKC. OKC is young, small, right? Chet Holmgren is the center. Jalen Williams is your power forward, way too small, right? They're big man away and experience away. And I'm a big proponent of you need to get your feelings hurt. You need to have deep playoff runs and lose before you're ready to take that jump, right, to win championships. You see Michael Jordan lost for years and years to first the Larry Bird Celtics, and then, historically, right, famously to the Isaiah Thomas Pistons with the Jordan rules, and then eventually he got over the hump and won. You have to lose. You look at Denver last year. They had deep playoff runs year after year, and then eventually they got over the hump and they won a championship. So OKC's not ready yet. Same applies to Minnesota. Minnesota, I think, is a bit further ahead because you got some experience, you got good height, you got good big men, and you got an MVP candidate, but in Anthony Edwards, but still not ready yet. They need to get some playoff runs, lose, get their heart and their feelings hurt to be ready to go. So those are teams that you're happy to play in the first round if you're the Lakers. You want to avoid Denver at all costs. So the Lakers are playing a game of chess, not checkers. The proverbial, I hate to use it, right? Chess, not checkers. So they are strategically trying to figure out a few steps ahead. They watch where Denver is seated, how Denver's playing, and then what they're going to do is, what they're going to do is win or lose based upon what Denver's doing, if they can. It may not work out that way, right? But that's what you want to try to do. You want to avoid Denver if you're in the West at all costs. And you send it across the NBA. Kawhi sitting out some games. It's all about seeding right now, okay? It's my favorite time of the year. It's the NBA playoffs. Everybody's jockeying for seeding. I can't wait to do a whole show segment right on the eve. This is almost the eve, but like right before the playoffs starts about teams, matchups. I'm going to give you my prediction, who's going to win. But just know right now, okay, things are not what they appear to be. All right. Everybody's not trying to win right now. Everybody's more concerned with seeding. It's a game of chess, not checkers. All right. Anyway, sometimes you get these hot takes, things we got to talk about. It's always a pleasure. Comment. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts about Calipari. Let me know your thoughts about Arkansas. Let me know your thoughts about Kentucky. Let me know your thoughts about the hire. Let me know, was it Calipari's time to leave? Comment. Tell me your thoughts on that. Tell me your thoughts about the NBA seeding. Love to create dialogue and feedback. It's always a pleasure. One love, baby.